The Scott Ryfun Radio Show.
All right, so there we go. Good morning. It's Friday. And I've been trying to work out a few things with the technical end of things. And boy, what a weird evening last night. I can't really talk about it yet. I hope I'll be able to talk about it soon, but we'll see. Just very odd. That's the best I'm going to say right now because, well, it's Friday and I'd rather celebrate the inherent Fridayness of it. I will go ahead and let you know now, right at the beginning of this thing. Yesterday we went till almost 9 o'clock yesterday. Just, my goal here. And when I started doing this, I said, I'm going to go 20, 30 minutes a day just to let people know. And I didn't think we'd really have enough interaction to do much more than 20, 30 minutes and enough discussion, enough, things to talk about and that kind of thing. And what has happened instead is it's gotten longer and longer and longer. And yesterday we went till almost 9. And I'm just going to go ahead and let you know now, I have a 9 o'clock appointment. So I can't do that today. I got to be out by about 8:30 or else it's just not going to work. So just let you know early and now. But boy, do we have a lot of things to talk about this morning. Boy, do we have a lot. So first, though, let's greet everybody. There is Mikey saying good morning to everyone. Number 8 is saying good morning to everyone. 2 thumbs up from Paul McClellan. I'm assuming there's some Fridayness to it. Hello, Friday. Here and accounted for. Glad to have you here. Aaron, glad to see you. It's National Tequila Day. I would not have known this had you not said that. Low Prep Friday. It is indeed. Did you guys notice the countdown just went off early? I don't know why. Well, I will tell you this. I started the broadcast from my iPad in another room. And then when I added the computer in this room, it just killed the countdown. I don't know why, but I was like, I'm not going to go ahead and start a new countdown for crying out loud. We're just going to keep going like we were. All right, hang on a second. Let's see there we go. Trying to make sure I get the logo in there as well as I can so that I do right by my favorite architectural firm, ALR Architects. All right, so let's see what else. And by the way, residential, do some commercial, mostly residential, really, really, really top-notch stuff. You can look them up on the web. Let's see. Good morning to you, Mr. Leak. Good morning. Getting ready to get this day over with. Vacation next week. Oh, where are you traveling to? Let us know if you're traveling or if you're just taking the week off and hanging around the house. Like I told you, this was supposed to be my vacation week. Had I still been on the radio, I would have been off this week. And you wouldn't have actually heard from me this week at all. And we would have traveled. The plan was always to come back Tuesday, even when I was still doing the radio thing. The plan was to come back Tuesday and then just hang out at the house for the rest of the week. But we didn't do that because things didn't work out that way. Good morning, 147. Good morning, South Georgia 40. Absolutely. Welcome to this glorious, glorious weekend. Lisa says good morning. We say good morning back. Troy just survived another week. Well, we're not there yet, but hopefully, Mr. Blocker and Jessup saying hello to us. Brad saying good morning. I'm so glad that you're there, by the way. Let's see. Billy, howdy. He's not gone on his run yet this morning. You think we can hit 10 today? 10 what? I think we can hit 10 today? You mean 10 o'clock? No. No, we are not going to hit 10 o'clock today because I've got to go. Gene says, good morning. Good morning. Doug says, good morning. How are you, sir? Good morning from the homeland of Northwood. The old country, as we like to call it, the mother country, the motherland. Good morning from 165, raining in the mountains. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Could go either way, I guess, on that. Karen says, good morning from everyone in North McIntosh. Hello. Okay, so Bill's going to Virginia. Very cool. Good morning for the southernmost point in the continental U.S. I love that everybody's here. Okay, Uncle Mindbender says, can I have a number? And I think he asked the other day, and we were out of numbers for the day because, we only have a supply of 3 per day that we can give out. So Uncle Mindbender is going to get a number, and that number is 174. 174. James, good to see you. I told you the other day, James, when we were talking about getting back on the air, one of the things people said was, is James going to call when we get back? Because I miss James. So that's cool. Ricky, good morning to you, sir. Chuck, good morning to you. Billy is starting his run right now. He'll have us on the headphones through the YouTube app. I'm so glad you're able to do that, man. That is very cool. And you're quite welcome. All right. Going on a cruise next week. Oh, that's very cool. Very cool. Bobby says, good morning. All right. All right, guys. So let's get talking about some things. There's I do have kind of a very important announcement to make, and I need to do it right at the top, and I need to kind of explain the context of it so that you understand what it means. Yesterday, Bill Fallon apparently announced it at a management meeting yesterday, and at that point, my phone started blowing up to the point that I couldn't take every call because I was engaged in other calls. I have accepted the position of public information officer with the public safety division of Glenn County. Why did I do that? And what does it mean for the program? Those are two very good questions. Why did I do it? I did it because there was an opening shortly after the iHeart debacle ended. I was approached by 3 different people inside Glenn County who said, this position's open, and they're going to be doing interviews for it, and think you'd probably be a good fit for it. And I said, I think I would be a good fit for it as well. It's in my wheelhouse. It's in my skill set. It's not what I've done for the last 32 years, but it's certainly tangential to it. I've watched the job be done, and I've worked in coordination with that job. And I felt like I could make a difference, and I could help out. So, and it would give us, as I'm launching this, and remember that I'm kind of in limbo right now with iHeart. I've not signed my severance documents, and I've got counsel looking at things, and that's all I can really say. But there's no income coming in, and we can live. And, we can probably get by for about a year, but at some point, the resources get drained. And so I would rather forestall that. What does it mean for the program? Well, I'll tell you, one of the very, very, very important parts of our discussion as this was going on was, I want to be able to do this. I want this to be able to happen. Well, the good news is the program, when we get it back up and running, and I believe we will have radio partners, it's going to run from 6 to 9. I'm not going to do the 9 to 10 hour. That was a decision I made a long time ago, just because 4 hours was wiping me out, to tell you the truth. And so it's going to be 6 to 9. And then after 9, you can go have a normal work day. And I'll still be able to address issues with the show, and I'll still be able to sell the show, and I'll still be able to take care of all that business with the show. So it's going to be okay. Now, at some point, I may get called away from the show to do something emergency related, and that's okay. It was funny because somebody yesterday was talking to me. They said, "Yeah, you wait till you learn about the hurricanes and what happens there." And I was like, "Guys, I've been in the." No, well, you've been in the building in the emergency operations center. Yes, I've been in the emergency. I've spent lots of time in the emergency operations center during hurricanes. I guess some people tend to forget some of my involvement in some of the hurricane coverage, but again, it's a thing where I feel like I can make a difference. I will also tell you this: the job was not handed to me. My understanding is they had a panel. Well, I know they had a panel of interviewers. They had a panel. I had to address a 4-person interview panel. And I understand they interviewed somewhere between 8 and 10 people for the job. So, that it was, I was chosen is, it wasn't like they called up and said, "Hey, this job's yours. Just go take it." And it's like, it wasn't that at all. I had to earn the position. And I had to be, who they felt was the right person for the job. So, I'm taking that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to start that August 3rd. Again, what does it mean for this? Nothing. We're going to keep doing what we do, and the program's going to continue, and the program will eventually, my belief is, return to the radio. Just a matter of when that can legally happen. And yes, we'll have sponsors and all of that. Now, the other question that I'm sure people are going to have is that going to stop you from covering certain things with regards to the county or the police department? And again, these are conversations we had from the outset. I can't not be honest about things that are going to be said, and I can't, I can't not discuss certain things. And when it's time for me to be critical of certain things, I will do that. But one of the reasons a lot of people don't have a problem with that within all of this, within all of the county structure, a lot of people don't have a problem with this is because when I'm critical, it is critical for reasons that I lay out. It is critical for, a reasoned point of view that is supported by evidence and facts. I'm not just somebody, this, I'm not just somebody who goes on the air and moans and groans and complains about everything and is a nabob, a nattering nabob of negativity, as Nixon would have said. So anyway, I'm excited about the opportunity. I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be neat. Again, like I said, I think I can do some things that'll make it better, different. Definitely different. maybe not better, but definitely different. And I'll bring a credibility, I think, from my years of doing the journalism thing over to that will be, I think it will be helpful for them. I think it'll be helpful for the department, but we'll see. We'll see. Philip says, good morning. Good to have you here. Ooh, yeah, I know. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Thank you on that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I like to think so. I think, again, my goal is to do good work. And anything I'm doing, my goal is to do good work. And this is a thing that I think I can help do something good. I can make a contribution. And that was exciting to me. Thank you. Appreciate that. Happy Friday. Definitely. It's a good Friday. And yes, Alan West going to be at American Legion Post 9 in about 45 minutes. Let's take a look at that really quickly because it's a big weekend. Alan West at American Legion Post 9 today, 8:30. Coffee, pastries, camaraderie. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West encourages veterans to continue making a difference through service and community engagement, a key component of the mission of the Committee to Support and Defend. And that will be this morning. And again, if honest to goodness, I don't want to tell people to leave. It's another good reason for us to knock this thing off at 8:30 because Alan West will be there at 8:30. But another good reason for you guys to go, or for me to end this thing early, so you can go meet Alan West. He's an amazing man. And for all he's done and all he's been through and all he's experienced, great sense of humor, good guy, solid conservative. I just, like I said, I appreciated him when he was in Congress in Florida. And I still appreciate him, having gotten to actually meet him earlier this summer. Thanks to Marie Beebe and Jeannie Seaver and everyone, mostly, well, I guess Marie coordinated the whole thing, but Jeannie was there too. And I just can't speak highly enough of the guy. Then tomorrow, he's going to be like the big guy, the featured rider at the Golden Isles Liberty Ride, the poker run. And that's going to start at Guns and Coffee in beautiful Brunswick, Georgia. And it's going to continue on and end up at Silver Bluff. And again, you know how these poker runs work. You get a card at every stop, and then you see what your hand is at the end of it, and somebody gets a prize based on the hand. So it'll be a lot of fun. It raises money for the Golden Isles Veterans Village. That is the tiny home community in the city that is geared towards providing homes and life skills training at times for the veterans in the area. So good cause. Love to have you turn out for that. And again, Alan West all over the Golden Isles this weekend. We're very glad he's here. And hopefully you'll get out and meet him because he's just a really, really great guy. Let's see. Congrats. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Again, something you understand. Happy Friday. Welcome to the public safety world. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm late to the game. What job? I have accepted a public information officer position with the county, and I'll be working with the public safety department, which is police, fire, animal control. Well, they don't call it animal control anymore because we can't have that. But anyway, yeah, we'll start on August 3rd doing that. That's not going to affect the program in the slightest. Now, let's move on because I promised. I didn't promise anything actually, but I've been working on getting this thing to happen here. So it did. A lot going on in Iran. There is nobody that I trust more on just the nuts and bolts, not listening to the pundits, but actually a guy who's been there, done that, literally been there and done that. Riley Blanton, Watchtower Intel, and he is with us right now, sir. How are you?
Scott, good morning. Good to talk to you.
It's great to have you here. I'm bouncing back a little. I don't know if that's a feed issue that we can take care of. I don't know. You hear that?
I'm coming in clean, but I'll defer to you.
All right. Yeah. It's doubling up. We'll transcribe with it because I really want to talk to you about that stuff.
Deal. Sounds good.
All right. So give us the latest. We've lost 4 service members this week. Is that right?
That over the last 2 weeks, yes.
2 weeks.
Yeah, brings the total death toll since Epic Fury up to 18.
All right. So what is the response? What should be the response? What should we be looking for in this?
No, I think that's fair, and I think you have to contextualize that with where we are since the resumption of strikes. So CENTCOM just announced that they completed the 13th day of continuing and escalating strikes after the memorandum of, as I will call it, the memorandum of misunderstanding, very predictably fell apart.
Yeah.
Shocking, I know, but that is where we start. So the round of resumption of strikes happened, and I think there's so much volume of news and hot takes and videos and back and forth. If it's okay, Scott, I'm just going to set the stage where we are now because I think that'll help best answer your question about like what happens next.
Please
because essentially, why did the memorandum of understanding fall apart? Really, fundamentally, it was a misread of paragraph 5 of that memorandum. So if you're someone who didn't read in detail that memorandum, which I would argue most pundits on cable news probably didn't, that's fundamental to understanding this, because that was essentially where the IRGC liberally interpreted that to mean we will maintain full control of the strait and ships may only pass through the northern route that we control. It is not the United States recognition is that no, free flow traffic will resume. And that's just a fundamental incompatible. That's why the falling apart would be inevitable, because as ships started taking the southern route and as CENTCOM began escorting oil tankers to continue the flow of traffic, the IRGC began targeting them. And so we started having multiple impacts. And this is over a week ago, and we just forget this because it's like how fast news passes. But that's the response, and that's why it fell apart. And CENTCOM carried out the president's threat to resume strikes to degrade the capabilities that Iran was using to continue to hit oil tankers as they passed through that southern route that the United States recognized and was escorting ships safely so that they aren't paying the IRGC toll, essentially. And so that's why we're in this 13th day. We're now 13 rounds of strikes that have continued to intensify, and that is what the IRGC expanded their response to. So that's the escalation ladder that we've seen walk up, and that's why that's ultimately resulted in the death of more service members, because Iran used the downtime during the ceasefire, during the memorandum of understanding after it was signed, to reconstitute buried ballistic missile launchers, fueling, munitions capabilities, anything that was remaining that could be reconstituted. Institute of Study of War, so like an open source think tank, estimated it just at right above or right below 50% of their pre-war stockpile, which sounds, this is like the most perverse version of glass half full, glass half empty. munitions half remaining. Is that good or bad? It shows like significant degradation, but it also shows that a significant amount of inventory, enough to saturate air defenses in Jordan, is what is primarily seemed to be the result in the intermediate range targets as they struck Jordan, which is really significant tactically because it's using these intermediate range, these longer range ballistic missiles instead of just the more plentiful shorter range ones that are used to hit Bahrain and Kuwait. They're much closer to Iran. Jordan, much further away, and that's why expanding that target set was significant because of the U.S. operations operating out of Jordan. So I think that's the context we have to understand for why the escalation and the increase in Iranian strikes. There's a lot of like really unhelpful hot takes of like, oh, Iran definitely didn't have any left. I thought that's what we said. Like, no, CENTCOM's very clear that in terms of the degrade, it's an operational term. But in terms of like wiping out this entire vast inventory, proving to be a extraordinarily challenging task. And that brings us to this current moment.
And if you have half of your capability degraded, I mean, that's pretty serious. I feel like we've got a situation as a culture where we tried to fight a nice war in the early 2000s, and it didn't work out because you can't fight a nice war. And instead what was a protracted war. And now I think everybody in this country wants an instant war, where it's just one night and it's over. And that's not realistic.
Yeah.
What should the American people? What should our expectations be?
Well, this should not be the CENTCOM's overnight oats. Listen, it's a great source of protein. I love them. I have them every morning. But it is not. It is not. No, I think two instincts are fair. I think it's very obvious that, like, politically speaking, the American public is sensitive to protracted conflict in the Middle East. Like, if anyone knows that, it's guys like me who've deployed and just know that, like, it's a universal sentiment. It's scar tissue that the American public is dealing with, and that's the right of like you, if that's your feeling, that is your right as an American. And it's also the responsibility of our leaders, including us within the military, communicating, and also politically, of like addressing those concerns. To answer your question, Scott, like I think a realistic look at the escalation of conflict and what that means, CENTCOM's verbiage was very clear and then changed. And I think this is what's important, is that in the opening days of the retaliatory strikes, degrading along the coastal defense radars, a lot of like cheap commercial radar assets that were replaced of the fixed sites that we destroyed, like that kind of stuff, as we resumed targeting those types of things around the strait to protect it. That was the language we were using, is, hey, we're degrading. You'll see it right in the CENTCOM press releases. We're degrading command and control capabilities, launch capabilities, anything that threatens commercial shipping. And then a U.S. service member died in a ballistic missile attack. And that's when both the president and the CENTCOM acknowledged that strikes were retaliatory in nature as a result of the death of U.S. service members. And that's where we've seen in the last few days, the last 2 or 3 days, and you've seen it in the news, like leveraging assets like the B-1 bomber, which is significantly more capable in terms of just number of munitions and payloads. So you can expand the numbers and continue to degrade their conventional capabilities. But to your point, Scott, it really becomes up to CENTCOM of like where that threshold of how much enough is enough, because essentially the diplomatic avenues have evaporated, and so that now leaves the president to decide where is the line when we've accomplished our strategic goals. And that's I don't envy that job. That is not an easy question. Anyone who tells you it's just as simple as like pulling out now, or it's as simple as like we're gonna nuke everything, like on the hawkish side, that's oversimplifying what's a very complex and tragic issue.
When I look at all of this, I have to ask the question of whether you're frustrated, and I don't know if you can answer that question or not. But you mentioned that the memorandum of understanding was not going to last, and you also know that when they're in the middle of the memorandum of understanding, they're going to be rebuilding. They're going to be dusting things off. They're going to be getting ready to go again.
Mhm.
So the question there is, you know that can happen when the MOU goes into effect. Do these MOUs frustrate you because you know they're not only full, but they set us back a little.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, this is where this is Riley's opinion. Like I'm no spokesperson. I'm just like offering my perspective and experience. So it's hopefully informative. That's like the whole reason I do watch Taurento. So to directly answer your question, of course, like from an operational perspective, war is like as old as Clausewitz. War is an extension of politics, right? And so diplomatic negotiation being attempted, it happens all the time. It happens with governments and organizations that we disagree with. And so I certainly understand why that's the case. And that's why you have everyone from the Pakistanis to the Qataris to the Iraqis, evidently, to the Iraq prime minister, attempting to negotiate different versions of some form of settlement. Because it's in everyone's economic interest. It's in everyone's interest of safety and everyone's interest of survival and the thriving of our neighbors and allies throughout the entire Middle East that this war ends, except one organization, and that's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Yes. By the way, let me stop just a second. Everyone who's telling me there's echo when I'm speaking, I'm aware of that, which is why I mentioned it at the very beginning. So, there's really not much I can do now. We're configured exactly the same way we were configured yesterday when we had all. We didn't have to, so I'm not sure what the issue is or why it's there. But we're having to deal with it, and I'm trying to.
Let me hit this button. Hit that button. Hey, give that a test, Scott.
Okay, how about now? Yeah. Oh, it's gone.
Hey,
what happened?
Who to blame now? No, I just got some echo cancellation from my mixer setup. How's that? Okay. Better?
All right. No, much better. Yes. Yeah. Much better. Oh, so we were hearing what Riley was hearing. That was what that was. Okay. So now I get my thoughts are a little better organized, but I guess, every single time we have one of these memorandums of understanding, and it doesn't matter if it's us, if it's Israel, because we see the same thing. They'll go to war with Hezbollah, who is basically Iran by proxy, or Hamas, who's basically Hezbollah by proxy. We'll have a ceasefire, and the ceasefire lasts long enough for them to get up enough juice to attack again, and then we're back in the same place. Is it as simple as bombing someone into the Stone Age?
No, and it never is. Like from a strategic perspective, I think an argument could be made, and this is what's happening right now. I would guarantee you is that you have the menu of options that the military will offer the president, and this is agnostic. I have to say this so many times. This is agnostic of who's the president. In fact, these options would not change based on who the president is. It is at the power. It is the executive power in the national security interests of the United States to make this decision. And so advocate and understand what the option is and what would be best. That gets to your question of so what the really escalatory options. I was reading a think piece by a national security analyst who was making an argument for I forget a small one of the smaller inventory nuclear warheads and what that would look like if you just nuked Pickaxe Mountain, which I mean that's I'm sure that's an option. But that'll be presented, and that if that gets out there, it's going to be Trump wants to nuke Iran, even though that would be presented to Obama or Carter or anybody. Yeah, well, and that's there because there's so much political and military sensitivity to using any form of nuclear weapons. I mean, same thing it's what honestly prevented Russia from using tactical nuclear weapons early in the Ukrainian conflict. Yeah. So it's a very real counterbalance, and so I don't want to glibly pass over that, but I do want to illustrate the range of options. It can be something as simple as these continued airstrikes, which are effective at degrading Iranian launch capabilities. And they will continue to enable us to escort ships 1980 style through the Strait of Hormuz, like it's been done before. But it's a protracted, expensive option. And so you have that all the way in the range to seizure of Kharg Island, to attempting to secure key points of terrain in and around the Strait of Hormuz. These are all options that could be given, but they all have varied costs associated with them. And that's the calculus facing the president. And here's what I think I would encourage you, if you as you see the pundits left and right talk about this as if it's like really simple and easy to solve, is two things. One, war is risk. And so at the beginning of this campaign, there's no way of knowing how the campaign would go or how effective it would be, right? Yeah. The Ayatollah Khomeini may have survived that first strike, and then you would still have the Ayatollah of Iran. His son may have survived the strike unhurt or unhit, and he would be on the televisions talking about you never know how. There's no certainty in war. Yeah. So now we face ourselves with the reality of how effective the campaign is, and you're dishonest if you don't admit the enormous success in degrading the conventional capabilities, because now we have the ability to, with much less, I don't want to minimize this, but there's much less contested airspace in Iran. We have the ability to launch B-1 bombers and continue to prosecute targets in a way that we did not before this conflict. That does not solve any remnants of the nuclear facilities, centrifuges, enriched uranium, and it does not fully make the Strait of Hormuz hunky-dory, where it's easy and safe to pass. That has not happened, right? So that's realistically where we stand, and that's the challenge going forward.
It reminds me, and your discussion is bringing to mind a thing that Thomas Sowell says often, which is there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs, and that's what I'm hearing.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and that's the honest discussion that we should be having. That should be the dialogue the American public has, and that's within the administration. It's the reality is like you're going to have to make unpopular decisions.
Yeah, and
so the greatest American presidents, I will say this, just broadly speaking, from a historical perspective, this is Riley's historical perspective. The greatest presidents were willing to make unpopular decisions in the interests of the national security of the American people. And there's plenty of historical examples of it. The United States was not interested in entering World War II, and it took a great president and a remarkable speech on December 7th to change that. And it wasn't just the event, and people often forget, it wasn't just the fact that Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, or frankly that terrorists attacked the towers on 9/11. It was the fact, it was how the president responded and how the president characterized the issue of national security and established national will. And that's outside the scope of my professional experience. I am a military intelligence officer, and so I serve the executive branch, and I serve the Constitution. Like those are the things we swear to. It is the president's responsibility, and it's the president who rallies and communicates to the nation the nature of that. And so whether that's Kennedy at the Rice University speech saying we will go to the moon, or whether it's the speech about December 7th, a day that will live in infamy, or whether it's President Bush with his bullhorn and the rubble.
I hear you. Yeah.
I hear you. In the rubble of the towers. Those are great American moments of resolve. And I would argue that they cross cheap politics. I hope that can be the case today.
Well, we've got this, and again, what I'm hearing you is that there are a bunch of different possibilities. We have to decide which one we want, but we also have to understand that there are different prices we have to pay for each of the different possibilities. And then we have to be willing to pay the price for the possibilities that we want to achieve.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's that simple. So does this mean, at the end of the day, boots on the ground? Or again, is that just one of the possibilities and we have to decide as a people, or our government has to decide whether it's a price we're willing to pay?
Yeah, it's a great question. The honest answer is I don't know, but it is certainly one of the options. It is certainly one of the options, and that's where that decision falls on the president of the United States.
But we also have to say at the same time, Iran has been a tremendous source of evil in this world for 47 years.
It's it's one that Secretary Rubio's has had several moments where he very clearly articulates the moral clarity around this issue, And I think it's worth articulating. It's outside of the realm of CENTCOM, and on the military side, like you'll see the CENTCOM press releases very much articulate the operational objectives and why we're striking things.
Yeah.
But the moral argument of the historical reign of terror, not just on Americans but throughout the region, is a very real thing. And I will say this: so my background, like I was deployed last year to UAE, and so I got to interact with some of the Emirati military and like get to know like some of our partners in the region, and this operation would not be possible without them. Both the partners that are really dangerously close, like UAE and Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, Kuwait, but now even Jordan, and all of our accessing and basing airspace, the refueling, the reloading, like all of that is extraordinarily important. And all of these have their own conventional capabilities as well. So like whatever options they are, that's something that it may be a little less, if I could use the French phrase, a little less de rigueur, a little less fashionable to talk about how we lean on our alliance and partners. But that has been something that's been extraordinarily important throughout Epic Fury.
That's a great point. And again, we do use the phrase de rigueur here, so you're all right. All right,
let's go. I'm in the right
you're
spot.
Among friends here. You're fine. You're fine. All right. Riley, you do have a new book coming out in, I think, December, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, December 1st.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it is called Great Escape. I was trying to, you have to work up an elevator pitch. Here's my elevator pitch. All right. My elevator pitch is self-help is dead, read fiction. It's very simple.
I think that's a good one.
So it's it. If you go to greatescapebook.com, we have it set up. You just punch in your email. We're going to let you know once Amazon pre-orders go live, which should be, we're turning in our final manuscript this weekend. And usually it's a week or two after that where pre-orders will go live, and we're just going to give you a bunch of free stuff, like guides, video series, like all based on the content from the book, because you know how this works, Scott. Like the pre-orders make a huge difference for us, for the publisher, and so we like to give a lot of bonuses to include some original audiobook production elements, some sample chapters that you're going to get, all at greatescapebook.com. It's 30 lessons on stoicism, faith, and the wisdom of great stories is the actual subtitle. That's probably a more accurate one, but I think if you want shorthand of what this thing's about, it's your favorite stories shape who you are and your values, and that kind of matters. So we re-examine things like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and talk about it from the lens of stoicism and faith.
I love it. And of course, you have a co-author in this, and Stephen Kent. Stephen's been on the program a number of times before, including the last book that he did. And I think the world of both of you guys. And hopefully, when the pre-orders go live, let's bring you guys back on.
Yeah, absolutely.
When the book hits the stands, let's bring you back in. Let's talk about it. Let's remind people. And I'll be pre-ordering myself. I'm on the mailing list that I
love it.
Is at greatescapefiction.com.
Greatescapebook.com. Yep.
Oh, I said fiction. I wrote fiction.
No, you're good. You're good. It's probably because I said read fiction. It is.
Yeah. Well, I'll blame you. At greatescapebook.com. Get on the email list. It is Riley. As you know, Riley's a very thoughtful person. Riley is someone who spends a lot of time contemplating the hows and the whys. And one of my favorite things to ask in the world is why. So that's why I like having Riley around. Riley also has a Substack. It is Watchtower Intel. He is not a Jehovah's Witness, which is the question I get when I plug the thing is Watchtower. Is he Jehovah's Witness? No, that's the Lord of the Rings thing.
Think of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So Watchtower Intel on Substack. Check it out. Or I think you can just look up Riley Blanton as well. Is that right?
Yep. You'll find me.
Okay. Either way. And I will tell you, his Substacks have become a very valuable tool for me because they put things in perspective. No offense to the people sitting in suits and ties and fancy dresses in a studio, but those people aren't there and haven't been there, and they have agendas to advance. Riley is cut and dry. These are the facts. Here is what's happening. Here's why it's happening. And again, I just appreciate that. No win. Thanks, man.
No, thanks. Appreciate you having me on, Scott.
All right. Any old time. Thanks for jumping on.
Yep. See ya.
Be good. Riley Blanton. And Riley, again, is he's the co-author along with Stephen Kent, another friend of ours. Great Escape. The Great Escape is the name of the book. Greatescapebook.com is where you can go sign up for information. find out when it goes live for pre-sales. And I think it'll be a really good book. And again, I would subscribe if you're interested at all in the events that are going on out there. And this is what is interesting to me about all of that is, and about hearing from Riley is Riley's not, you'll see a lot of guys on TV and they'll go, hey, this is so-and-so, former intelligence agent with blah, blah, blah. Riley's not a former intelligence. Riley is current intelligence. Riley is active duty now. And he's, he knows things. He says things. He's also very smart. So he doesn't say things he can't say or shouldn't say. But you're not getting a former guy there. You're getting a guy who is in the thick of things as we speak. And I appreciate that no end. All right, let's get back to some of our discussion here. What a nice young, I mean, look, Riley it's funny because I have a lot of older friends. I have friends who are in their 80s. I have friends who are in their 90s. I tend to I think I was an old soul, and I have a lot of older friends. Riley is one of those younger friends I have. And, we click a lot. Actually, we were introduced by Steve Glosson, actually. I really started getting to know Steve Glosson. I'd followed Steve's stuff for a while. And Steve, I wanted on a podcast that I was doing, and I asked him to do the podcast. And then he said, I don't live too far from me. He lived in Hazelhurst at the time. And I said, and he's like, and I used to do my summer vacations on St. Simon's. And I said, well, why don't you come over here and let's record? So we literally went to, here's a name for you. We went to Locos and sat with a recorder in the middle of the table and had lunch and recorded a podcast together as we had lunch together. And we took off, and we were, it was a love at first sight thing. And then as I got to know him, he'd go, have you met the kids? Do you know the kids? I don't know what you're talking about. What kids? And it was Riley and his sister Bethany, who were also both doing podcasts and who are just outstanding young individuals. And Bethany, his sister, I think she's still in the Space Force. So, Riley's in the Air Force. She's in the Space Force. They're both serving their country honorably. But great kids, great people. Let's see. Mustache battle. John Bolton versus Riley. Let's get it on. All right. Riley thanking us. I appreciate it. Let's see. Henry Ball, great interview. Self-help is dead. Read fiction. I'll add seeking truth is dying. Maybe I should write fiction. No, come on now. Don't get down. Don't get down, Henry Ball. We need you. We need you to do your thing. We need you to keep doing your thing. Watchtower Intel on Substack. That is absolutely correct. We did that. So let's get back to some of these other discussions. Public safety, then mayor, then the Senate, then the White House. I am not going to be running for mayor. You have to live in the city to be mayor. So I'm not going to do that. Will you be in charge of flock cameras and data centers with the county? You're just trying to start stuff now. No to both of those. There is no data center in the county. There is none currently planned. Though, again, I was speaking to some people earlier this week who are very acutely interested in having data centers in Glenn County because, as I was told, it could possibly wipe out our property taxes, period. And I thought that was an interesting statement. Paper of record will finally have to recognize. Well, I have to acknowledge I exist. That's for sure. It'll be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see. Older people are a great source of history and what it was like to live. They really are. And I sadly, we were talking. I was actually talking about this with a friend when we were down in Orlando. I have a friend who is a cast member, and he stopped by, and we talked for a couple of hours. And one of the things he talked about was the marketing down there in Orlando. Everything is about what's new, what's new, what's new, what's new, and not about what is there that is a stalwart that is great. It's only about what's new, what's new, what's new, not what has been there. What is it, and not what the legacy is, not what is classic about the place, not the nostalgia of the place. And I think we need the older folks to remind us of what was there before. And it's like G-Man will say something, and I'll kind of look at him and go, wait a minute, do you not know? Because he'll talk about something relevant that's happening now, but he doesn't understand there's some historical precedent that I lived through. And so we'll have that conversation. And it's the same with having older friends. I suggest you have friends all up and down the spectrum of age because there are contributions everybody can make from their perspective, no doubt. I miss Steve, and I talk to him occasionally, and I still miss him. Like I said, if this channel turns into more than just this show, which is a thing that I'm thinking about, depending on how well it does, and once we really launch and we actually put sponsors on here, I want to bring him on for a show. Mike, honestly, what I would love to see is this channel populated by shows, not just today and in the morning, but throughout the day and into the evening. And I've got a number of people that I kind of have on my radar for that's somebody I'd like to have do the show. The problem is just, long term, we kind of have to figure out how to monetize it. And again, there are ways. So it's just a matter of, do we do it? How can we do it, et cetera? But it would be a great thing. I think it would be a great thing to have people be able to tune into this channel and just stay on this channel all day. And we just keep going from one thing to the next, as if it were a radio station. Go figure. Thank goodness it's Friday. Could not have said it better myself. Absolutely. All right, let's see. On the Iran caused damage for 47 years in Iraq. Every munition fired at us came from Iran. We would track them. Obama wouldn't touch them. So shame on previous presidents for pushing this off till now. No, that is one of the things. Let's just say this. Carter, I know people get mad when I go after Carter. Carter enabled the takeover in the first place by withdrawing support from the Shah. So it starts with Carter. But after that, and after that, you had that Iran-Iraq war for 10 years, which was difficult to navigate because you had two people we really didn't like going to war with each other, but the Soviets were arming the Iraqis. And we didn't want, and of course, the Soviets arm the Iraqis, and the Iraqis win, then the Soviets have a foothold over in the Middle East, and they have a foothold on our oil. The oil that we're going to, part of, everything that we do. But, so yeah, the 80 to 90 thing was kind of tough because we were kind of helping Iran out a little bit by opposing the Soviet Unions who were arming Iraq. But, after that, I think it was on, especially once Saddam Hussein did things like invade Kuwait and that kind of thing. We probably should have defanged a lot of folks over there. And we didn't. Let's see. Nick, mayor left the city for the Chick-fil-A ground break. That's true. But yeah, you still have to live in the city to be the mayor. First, the paper of record may print you and change your name into a symbol. That's true. They could do that. Donna, it's good to have you back. I'm glad to see you up and about. Paper of record. Yeah. Change my name to a symbol. I get it. Good luck getting Steve to record right now. I know. Well, my thing's not getting Steve to record. On this channel, I would like to see Steve Glosson do 2 hours live every week. He can pick the night. Exactly. This is probably true. Let's see. Carter was a disaster. Yes, absolutely. The funny thing about Carter being a disaster is Carter's probably the most complete president we've ever had, because he was an utter disaster domestically and an utter disaster internationally. I mean, he was bad as a president at everything. And, most of the time you go like Clinton was bad internationally, but, he did okay domestically, mostly because he got dragged across the finish line by Newt Gingrich and the squad up there. That's, that's reality. That happened. But at the same time, the international stuff was bad. So usually you get somebody's good at something, but Carter and Obama probably go down together as just kind of the biggest disasters, because they were both terrible domestically and internationally and abroad. It's kind of scary how bad they both were at what they did. In fact, I'll be honest with you. In 2012, I had no faith at all that Obama would be reelected, just because he had 4 years I think it's unrealistic when you say 6 months into a president's term, look at his economy, because it's not really their economy at that point. But 4 years into Obama's term, it was his economy, and we were still in recession. So yeah, and after that, we finally recovered during his second term, but it was the weakest peacetime recovery in the history of our country. And again, you do have to say, not a good president. I know people love him, but that's fine. Let's see. We're going to do about the communists getting key political positions, not to mention the Muslim takeover. Well, I mean, we have to have ideological warfare is what we have to have. I mean, ideological warfare. You heard me say that. I'm not talking about fighting people in the streets. But what you have is, the Democrats, socialists of America are surging right now. There are a number of key people in power in the Democrat Party who have finally started to recognize this and are starting to take action. But the reality is, what has to happen is when they go to school, they can't be taught that communism is okay, or that socialism, it would be good, it just hasn't been tried right yet. Those are the things they can't be taught in school. They can't get that kind of an education. They shouldn't see it in our movies, in the movies that you let them watch as parents, in the TV shows that you let them watch, et cetera, et cetera. So it to me, it's an ideological battle. And in fact, that leads to the idea that I have been talking about for a number of years, and that's the three-legged stool. We have to, if you want to get rid of the communists and the people in the key political positions, that kind of thing, the socialist spreading, you have to, as conservatives, fight for and take back entertainment, or at least get middle ground on entertainment, journalism, and education. Because those are three institutions that the right just surrendered to the far left, and now they're paying the price for it. You have to go back in. You have to go back in and get it. So the paper of record would give me a symbol and not a name because they refused to recognize me. So they would put flock foilers out there. Maybe they would just have a picture of me and put the flock foilers on there. I think that, that may be a thing they do. You never know. I can see that totally. And then let's see, Scott's print symbol is a raccoon. Oh no. Oh boy. In the interest of fairness, will be a Charles Hill show on this channel. No, there won't. No, there won't, because I want people who are intelligent and articulate, not people who think they're intelligent and articulate. And there's a big difference. There are people who can repeat words that they've heard people they think are smart say, and then there are people who can actually articulate thoughts and ideas. And from all of his work and from all of my interactions, Charlie Hill is not one of those people. Sorry. Ideological, not idiotlogical. Don't worry, I do my part to fight idiots every day. Holy Ghost truckers in the house this morning. Good to have you here. Glad to see you. So let's get into a couple of these other things, because I got a few things here today to dive into. First off, we've been talking about this. Allen West is going to be hang on. There we go. Allen West is going to be at American Legion Post 9. That is this morning. 8:30 is the start time, but the way it was being said to us earlier, he may be there at 8. And again, what I would say is take the time to go meet Allen West. Allen West, your day will be better because you met Allen West. Your life might get better because you met Allen West. But I know certainly the day I met Allen West, my life was better that day. Just a great American, a patriot, smart conservative, good human being. Those are the kinds of people I like to be around. And then, of course, tomorrow, Golden Isles Liberty Ride Poker Run with, again, Allen West will be the featured rider. It'll start at Guns and Coffee, and it'll end at Silver Bluff. And there'll be, obviously a number of stops along the way so that you can get your cards. And now let's talk about, since we're talking charitable things, Michael Hall, who I think is Michael Hall and I probably be having some interaction. Folks in Glenn County can participate in the mission of Keep Golden Isles Beautiful in 2 ways next month. 18th annual KGIB Clean and Green Golf Tournament is slated for August 6th at Brunswick Country Club. I'm going to take some credit for that name, by the way, because we were sitting in a room one day trying to come up with a slogan for, we were tasked at the radio station coming up with a slogan for, at the time it was Keep Brunswick and Golden Isles Beautiful. And I came up with Clean and Green, and they liked it. And they were like, oh, that's it. That's the one. And they still use it to this day, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, I came up with that. Let's see, 18th annual, August 6th. So that's actually pretty close to being here. And then what's the second event? There it is, August 18th, or as we like to call it, G-Man's birthday. They're hosting KGIB is hosting a drop-in meet and greet event. The evening will be from 5 to 8 at Uptown Tap and Cigar. I can't read this morning. I guess it's Friday on St. Simon's Island. So any of those, you want more information, call Leah. We miss Leah. Leah, if you're out there, if you're actually watching this, and we've got a lot of people watching it, if you're one of those people, Leah, let us know. I'll send you a link and let you come on, because we can do that. We don't have a phone system set up yet, but I have links that I can send you, and I can put you on the program. But I always like to plug those folks because they're just great people. And a lot of great things happening. Let's see. Number 136. Good morning, sir. Will there be a Bless His Heart hour as you try to state facts to number 70? No, but one of the things I want to do. No, yeah, somebody says, is Warren 70 or 71? Yeah, no, he's 71. He's 71. And because Diane is 70. Don't take Diane's 70 away from her. But Warren is 71, and he is that way because his son is number 71 for the Los Angeles Rams. I'm not going to have a Bless His Heart hour, but I will tell you this. One of the things that I don't know what I can talk about, what I shouldn't talk about. Because again, I have no release paperwork from iHeart yet that's signed. Nothing signed yet. But I'll just go ahead and do this. In 2020, to take advantage of the gigantic swing to the left in this country, iHeart launched a thing called the Black Information Network. I'm all for everybody's voices being represented. In fact, I when I heard about that, I was a little bit excited because I thought, well, there will be, an AM talk radio equivalent of, what we do on the conservative side of things, the Black Information Network. And then they actually launched it. And it was literally people who are Black reading the news. But then that's all it is people reading the news all day. And I don't think that's compelling or entertaining, frankly. And the other problem that I have with it is it doesn't get ratings anywhere. But they do it because the corporations will say, they go, we're catering to minorities. And they'll go, okay, we'll give you money for minorities. And, so it's not the wisest thing. But I will tell you, one of the things I did is iHeart sends out lots and lots of newsletters and emails. And I unsubscribed from all of them because I don't care about most of them. I only took them before because I was an employee. But the one I kept was the Black Information Network one. And I'll tell you why, because when you get it, your jaw drops, because it is nothing. Like, there are no positive, uplifting, good stories. It is all white against Black. It is all Black people should be terrified of white people. I mean, it's just like on and on and on, that every story they run. It's disgusting, to be honest with you. And the fact that there's a company that just, does that, runs that, and allows it, it's absolutely stunning to me. And I keep it because at some point when I'm clear, I'm going to use it as show prep. Because it is, in a country where we talk about we've got to come together, a lot of the same people that say we've got to come together create this divisive nonsense every day. And they will take, we talk about, when you based on numbers, white on Black violence is very small. But yet, every instance of it, that's it. That's the story. And every single time, every time. And it's disgusting to me. I can't stand it. So yeah, we'll get into that over time again. But there's not, the thing is, it's geared towards a Black audience. But all it does is try to scare the black audience. It doesn't do anything to uplift, to encourage, to support. It just tries to scare black people. And I don't get it. It's baffling to me that they would want to run, because it really is all hate and division, because it really paints a warped picture of the world and how it really is and how people really treat each other. And Tim says, imagine if your worldview is that's all you hear and see all the time and nothing else. And he's exactly right. You know, when you're steeped in all of that and then you come out hating white people, I'll bet there's a reason for that. And it's because, you know, you're surrounded by a media and a culture that encourages you to hate and be afraid of white people. Landa says no. Landa is doing his thing. Good morning, sir. Landa, I'll tell you what. There are certain people that when the show went into Savannah, and again, the plan right now is for the show to go back into Savannah. There are certain people who just right away were immensely helpful and immense contributors. And number 25 was one of those, Corey. Our Holy Ghost trucker was one of those. And Landa, who called sometimes, didn't call a ton. But let me tell you something. A guy who was plugged in, knows what's going on, and can tell you and point you in the right direction. Landa was probably my secret weapon, because 25 is not secret. He's loud. You know where he is. But Landa was probably my secret weapon when we went on in Savannah, because he just knew things. He just knew where things were. He just knew what was happening. Still does. And when we get back on in Savannah, I'm going to hit him up again, because I'm still hitting him up. So, but I appreciate you no end, Landa. Arrest made in deadly November crash on St. Simon's. A lot of people were speculating as to why it took this long. I don't know, other than, it's funny because this again is that whole notion we were talking about with Riley, of the situation of there are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. I had people complaining to me about this thing for a while. Why didn't they arrest her? Why didn't they just arrest her at the time? Why isn't she arrested? And then I've heard some people give some speculation as to why they think she wasn't arrested. But the reality is this. Let's say you make a quick arrest and quickly charge her, but your investigation isn't done. It isn't complete. You don't have all your facts. Then when the charges get dropped, then you're furious because the charges got dropped. And then, of course, it's the good old boys making everything happen behind the scenes. And, so in this instance, they took their time with the investigation. Everybody got mad at them for taking their time with the investigation. But this is why you say, when people say, oh, they didn't even do anything, this is why you say, let justice play out. And again, we still have to go. There still has to be a trial. There still have to be pleadings. It's still ongoing, but the reality is there have been charges, and, the next steps will be taken from there. We had Riley on. We talked about the fact that in the last 2 weeks, we've lost 4 service members. One of them had local ties. Very sadly, from WSAV, Natasha Young, one of 4 U.S. service members killed in recent Middle Eastern military attacks, grew up in the coastal empire. Spent a large part of his childhood in Richmond Hill, his mother, Sherry Feehan, said. Tyler James Feehan, there he is, Army First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan. And Tyler's mustache would compete with Riley's. But he had a fiance, Claire Fletcher. Just again, when you think about the human cost of war, and we've had very few casualties, but every single casualty matters to somebody. And even I will sometimes minimize, like when we went into Kuwait, the first Gulf War, we lost like 150 people. And you go, we only lost 150 people. Because compared to the hundreds of thousands you lose in the Civil War and World War II and World War I, and it seems minor and insignificant, and in the scale it is. But those 150 people we lost were dads, they were moms, they were fiancés, they were boyfriends, girlfriends. They were sons and daughters and uncles and aunts, and they were people who mattered to people. And I think every person who gives their life in the service of this country should be honored, and should be honored appropriately. And, you can go, we've only lost X number of people, but don't minimize their deaths. This I thought was interesting. This was interesting for a couple of reasons. And Hank Tatum has this story on WSAV. Jon Ossoff is third in the Democratic primary choice. I don't know that I buy this. And it's the Emerson poll, and the Emerson poll said a lot of different things that I don't think were wrong. So then there's the question of this and where this comes from. But for Ossoff to be in third place would suggest that there are a lot of people who know who Jon Ossoff is. And in Georgia, sure, we all know who he is. Do people around the country really know Jon Ossoff? Or they think of Jon Ossoff as a strong leader? Or is it that Democrats are just looking for a white male because they don't have very many who can step up? And they pretend to want diversity, but when it comes down to it, they'll pick the white male instead, like Joe Biden. I'm just asking. Emerson College polling survey showed Senator Jon Ossoff polling in a tie for third in the 2028 Democratic presidential nomination, his first addition to the ballot test. Ossoff entered the ballot test at 13% with support from men at 18%. And let's be honest, we're talking about Democrats, so men is kind of, and women at 8%. Executive Director of Emerson College Polling, Spencer Kimball, noted former U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg led the poll. He's number one at 19%. And he'll be doing a campaign stop at Massengale Park, which I think is great. I mean, what a wonderful spot, I think, to have a campaign appearance. Followed by California Governor Gavin Newsom at 17%. Now, here's the funny thing. Pete Buttigieg has been out there. He's done the shows here and there. He's shown up. He grew a beard to show that he can, but it fell off at one point. That was embarrassing. But Pete Buttigieg, he's done a few appearances here and there. He's not really out there a whole lot, but he's done some things. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom has relentlessly campaigned for the governorship since about for the presidency since about 2025. He's like a year and a half into his campaign for the presidency, and he's still behind Pete Buttigieg. And to be honest with you, I think he should take that under consideration. I think he should look at himself and go, all right, maybe people just don't want me. Maybe people don't like me. They don't like my gesticulating. They don't like my lying. They don't like my hypocrisy. You can't go to church because we're locked down, but I will go to a fancy French restaurant. That's different. It's French. So let's see. So you got Pete Buttigieg at 19, Gavin Newsom at 17, and then Ossoff, and this says a couple of things to me. Ossoff tied at 13% with AOC. And then 13% of the voters said they're undecided. Now let's talk about this for a second. AOC is everywhere. AOC is ubiquitous. She is online. She is all over the place. She's on TV. She's on the interwebs. She's on Twitter. She is everywhere, and everybody runs to her for comments all the time. Ossoff is barely known in Georgia, and she's tied with Ossoff. And again, it says to me, Democrat Party pretends to want diversity, but somehow a very unqualified white guy shows up in the middle of this stuff. And a not that well-known white guy shows up in the middle of all this stuff. Again, he's not. I mean, people in Georgia, half the people in Georgia don't really know who the guy is. And yet he is a top contender tied with AOC. And that tells me the state of that party right now. Republican side, Vice President J.D. Vance led the polling at 39%, followed closely by Secretary of State Marco Rubio at 38%. Would really, really like to see Marco Rubio take that over J.D. Vance. The poll also showed likely 2026 voters gave Democrats an 11-point advantage, outpolling Republicans 53-42. Kimball said women broke to the Democratic candidate by a 27-point margin at 56-39, while men had 49% support for the Democrat and 44% for the Republican. I would say I wouldn't sweat that. It is a presidential preference poll with no candidate. And I wouldn't really invest a lot in that part of the poll. Support or opposition of data centers was also a national response on the poll, with 27% of the respondents in support and 63% responding in opposition. Which leads us to not that. Oh yeah, no, that's part of the AI data center thing. Sorry, I thought that was going to be a different thing. Do we not have the data center? We don't. Holy cow. I thought I had that image loaded in. Darn it. Okay, well, as you know, Effingham County, OpenAI is proposing to open a data center there. They had an open house yesterday, and they were met by a mob. And then we see the poll from Emerson, 63% are opposed to data, just opposed to them in principle. Not if if someone wanted to construct one in your bathroom, I wouldn't want that either. But this is just in principle, we oppose data centers. But here's the thing, and let me just say it this way, and I know somebody's going to tell me I'm insulting people, but I'm not. You're just not listening to how I'm saying what I'm saying. If they had gone to the cavemen and they had taken a poll, if Emerson had gone back in time and taken a poll of the cavemen and said, hey, what do you think about this new fire thing everybody's starting to talk about here? They'd be, fire bad. Fire bad. And it would be like, 63% of cavemen oppose fire. But the world was not going to move forward without fire. This round thing called the wheel. The Indians are incapable of coming up with it, by the way. Just pointing that out. But Europeans seem to have come up, and the Greeks and the Middle Easterners seem to have come up with the wheel. I think Chinese may have come up with a wheel here and there. Seems kind of natural and logical. It's starting to spread around the world, this wheel. The Indians didn't have the wheel, though. The colonial settlers, the colonizers, brought the wheel over. 63% of Indians said, oh, no, wheel bad. No wheel. This is the level of negativity about AI data centers. That's how I feel about this. It is new technology. It is necessary for us to move forward. People are opposing it because it is new and different, and because they're being scared by other countries seeding our social media with negative stories that turn out, in every case, to not be true. But Aaron Brockovich said so. Yeah. Aaron Brockovich says a lot of stupid things. Look at the record there. Aaron Brockovich has a large history of saying stupid things. Don't send me Aaron Brockovich says they're dangerous. Because I'm just not going there. But yeah, the 63% of people in the Emerson poll are saying no to data centers. And again, I think 63%, maybe even more, of cavemen would have said no to fire. And 63% or more of the Indians probably said no to wheels. Although strangely, they didn't say no to guns when we came up with those. Supporters and opponents is from Isabella Baez. Little diamonds and rust going on here. WSAV. Supporters and opponents of OpenAI's planned data center in Effingham County faced off Thursday night. They faced off. It's like the Sharks and the Jets. While the company held an open house, OpenAI, the name behind ChatGPT, announced Wednesday that they're working alongside Effingham County Industrial Development Authority, the Board of Commissioners, and the school district to open a data center. Now, again, this is how this actually happens. Because you remember the Brantley guys are like, oh, they're secretly going to build data centers. They don't go do that. They don't do that. They go and they make the situation, they make it happen. But they don't sit there and do it under cover of darkness. The center will be built in the county's Savannah Gateway Industrial Hub in Rincon, or Rincon, as Art Madman Mehring says. Since the news broke, the public has been extremely vocal, sharing their concerns and opinions. Surely. Thursday, county and OpenAI officials answered questions about the $20 billion project inside the Effingham County College and Career Academy. Now, understand the $20 billion project means that a lot of that $20 billion is going to be spent in their community, and it's going to be spent by people spending it from outside, which means there will be $20 billion or so dollars imported into the local economy. Fire bad. The open house was set up like a career fair with tables of information and job recruiters. Meanwhile, job recruiters, but there are no jobs. Were we told there are no jobs? I think they said there are going to be 400 jobs with this place, which is more than I hear out of a lot of other data centers. It's like, do you care about hunting? Do you care about the farmers? Chris Davison said. Do you care about the land around you? Do you want your property's values to not rapidly decrease because you've poisoned everything in a 10-mile radius? See, this is what I'm talking about. When we talk about hysteria and irrationality and crap they're getting off of TikTok. Sorry, Holy Ghost Trucker. Well, he's a TikTok lover. But I think he can turn somewhat jaundiced eye towards it. But I'll tell you this, I think over time, eventually, it's like when you start to like really stupid movies because they're so stupid, and you go, I like this stupid movie because it's stupid. I enjoy lots of stupid movies because they're stupid. And then eventually you find your taste becoming stupid. You have to be careful. You can do that stuff, but you have to be careful. Do you want your property's values to not rapidly decrease because you've poisoned everything in a 10-mile radius? Fire bad. Fire bad. Residents said their concerns included water and power demands and the site's proximity to an elementary school. That's right. Wait, hang on a second. Let me look this up. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. I thought OpenAI data centers were on the sex offender list, sex offender registry here, but they're not. I'm sorry. They're not on the. Why would you care if it's near an elementary school? Why would you care if there's a giant building full of computers in an elementary school? I'll be honest with you. I think it's to a little too much of a degree, but a school these days is pretty much a giant building full of computers. An Effingham County College and Career Academy student said, I think it's incredibly shady that the community have not known about what's happening. I find it rather odd that a school department is supporting this. I mean, they literally announced it through a press release. Maybe the press release was whispered. Was it written in really tiny font? Is that what happened here? However, not all who attended the open house opposed the project. Some people said, fire good. My son's starting pre-K, going into a school system that's going to have such a large investment into future forward-looking technology, Effingham County resident Nicholas Dowling said. That's only going to equip him for where we're going as an entire humanity. I don't know about the phrase an entire humanity, but otherwise I'll take it. 1,100 people showed up. If the numbers were commensurate with the Emerson poll, and I'm willing to bet they were more negative than the Emerson poll because I've seen all the waters being poisoned around here in social media. Speaking of poisoned waters, I think social media is poisoning more land in a 10-mile area than social media, by the way, or than data centers. But I would be willing to bet it's probably 800 people there opposing the data centers. Can you imagine? All right, so let's jump into some of the comments because I haven't seen a lot of the comments in a while. Year more ago in the iHeart app, I listened to BIN for 20 to 30 minutes. Every story spun into racist. Yeah, that's the problem with it. It's nothing but divisive, hateful, scare black citizens into hating white citizens, or at least being afraid of them at the bottom line. It's just it's not a good product. And the reason I even brought that up though is because I have some people that I know who are black who would, I think, make great hosts. If we were to do this channel just continuously and just constantly have a constant stream of programming going on the channel, I've got a couple of black hosts in mind, and not all conservative, by the way, that I think would just be interesting and give this. And I used to say that inside the iHeart, when I talk to people about Black Information Network, because I'll tell you, no programmer in iHeart wants Black Information Network in their market, because we have part of our income is based on like ratings, and and it doesn't get ratings. And so like, nobody in the company wants Black Information Network in their market because nobody listens to it. It doesn't, even if you were to say, well, I'm someone, I think the Black community should have a voice, you still don't want it in your market because nobody's listening to it. It's not really a voice for the Black community. But yeah, I used to say when we talked to people about it, because people just didn't like it. And I'd say, I could fix it because I would make it a Black version of, conservative news talk, except highlighting issues to the Black community instead of, and I would have entertaining hosts, and it wouldn't be conservative, but it would be good, entertaining, knowledgeable, fact-based hosts, and not, doing talk instead of just reading news that's designed to scare people. So yeah, I wanted to fix that so badly because I knew I could make a Black Information Network that would be a lot better than the nonsense they gave us. Turn out late here, Scott. I thought on Star Wars. Informative interview. May the force be with you this weekend. North Florida, #1, Tom on Amelia Island. Thank you, sir. Glad to have you here. Saw the poll. The poll I saw had AOC #1, followed by Mayor Pete at #2. I just don't buy Mayor Pete being that high. It's hard to say because you are just talking about Democrats. And a lot of them just back Mayor Pete and they don't know any of the negative. So, I mean, it is Democrats. But I guess the part that I find hard to believe with Mayor Pete being that high and Ossoff being that high is, again, they haven't really been out there owning it. So, yeah, Gavin Newsom's AOC would be a dream thing. Again, that's why you don't go, well, the polls say 11-point favor for the Democrat. Who is the Democrat? Oh, no. That's the problem with the poll like that. Eventually, AOC will have to fully bend the knee to the DSA if she wants to continue her political aspirations. Can't wait to see if that actually happens. How far really is she from that? Server farm, okay, data center. Yeah, and the difference is in the two, not really much of anything. Not much of anything. Colonizers had smallpox blankets also. There you go. And wheels. Saw a quote from Ford. If you would have asked the public would have said they wanted faster horses. Yeah. Yeah, they did not. Again, the horse and buggy. We've got to protect these jobs. What jobs? The horse and buggy manufacturing jobs. And but what did Fisher do? Think about this. Fisher was like a premier manufacturer of horses, horse and buggies. They didn't make horses. They made the buggies though. And when the car came in, they became a premier maker of car bodies. They adjusted. They changed because they didn't demand that Congress pass legislation mandating that they continue to make buggies. You see what I'm saying? He did indeed. All right, bad. Let's see. Opposing data centers is like opposing the calculator. Yeah, like opposing the calculator in favor of the abacus. Bring back our abacus. We've got to have the abacus. Lady's lying at my feet, by the way. I got to get going a little bit. I told you guys I had to leave in a bit. Let's see. Data center opposition is a direct measure of the effectiveness of the Chi-Com's propaganda distribution system, TikTok. You're 100% right. And by the way, that was supposed to have been outlawed. It hasn't been. Let's see. Tuberville. Let's see what you got, because you got your Alabama perspective here. Tuberville is mostly an idiot, but his AI and data center stance surprisingly rational. Well, I mean, he did coach at Auburn, so, what are you going to do there? Let's see. I feel a data center at the old Pinova facility isn't a bad idea. It already had the infrastructure to power and supply a production facility. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. The only thing is, there's 300 acres, so they can do a lot. You could have a data center there. In addition to that, though, and again, I think data centers really are better served in industrial areas, which I know that was kind of industrial before. It was industrial. But a lot of these industrial areas kind of moved to the outskirts. And I would really like to see at least 150 acres or so of this be dedicated to retail. Not just little retail, high-end retail. Like Apple stores, Tesla stores, Barnes and Noble, if we can make them come, the high-end retail stuff. there for years, one of the things that Brunswick has been trying to do is figure out how to get people off the islands. They come visit the islands, and people who come visit the islands very often are well-to-do, quite comfortable in their financial situation. And Brunswick has often been going, how do we get people over from there over to here? How do we do? And they've made a lot of progress in downtown. I'll say that. But one of the things they could do to get people to spend money in the city from the leave the island, because I know a lot of people who visit the island. I know a lot of people live on the island who go, I don't want to go over the causeway. I don't want to go into mainland Glen. One of the things you do, you put a really nice high-end retail facility right there. And I'm thinking, look at St. John Town Center and build that on the easternmost portion of that land. And you know, data center, okay, but I'd like to see at least part of it, and maybe it's not 150 acres, maybe it's more like 80 acres. I can't remember. I actually looked up the acreage, the footprint of St. John Town Center one day, and it was surprisingly small for as massive and sprawling as it seems to be. But it works, and they're managed well. And you know, when a store leaves, they get a new store. They have a big Lego store that I think, you know, that stuff would go over well. Retail is hurting in a lot of different respects, but what I have noticed, this is the trend I have seen, is high-end retail isn't hurting. You know, the lower-end retail is hurting a lot, but you go to Orlando and you have Mall at Millenia. Very few malls are doing well. Mall at Millenia is doing great. Why? It's all high-end stuff. It's all high-end jewelry stores. It's high-end retail. It's high, you know, they don't ever stoop to something lower end, and they do great. St. John Town Center, it's all high-end retail. They do fantastically. You can't get a parking space in that place. It's ridiculous. And the people have, when I've said this, people have said, oh, do you think we have enough people here? Tourists, yes. I mean, if there's so many tourists here, you're complaining we have too many tourists, then yes, we have enough tourists. Absolutely. So all of Jacksonville is completely poisoned. Yeah. Yeah. They have a lot of server farms or data centers in Jacksonville, and Jacksonville is not completely poisoned. Sometimes you'd know when you look, but anyway. Care about farmers? How many of us have seen the new solar farm on Highway 32 going into Alma? There you go. The children, but it's for the children. Always. Air conditioning, bad. Yeah, exactly. That's the whispered press release. Tuberville is simply trying to get people to run the right route. Poor guy. Is there a reliable source for education on data centers and the impact on the area? There, you know what? Yes. National Review pointed to a report the other day, and I'll have to get that. But you know what I would do also? And I know this is, I'm giving you a video to watch. Everybody always gives me the videos to watch. John Stossel, if you can look up John Stossel stuff, John Stossel did a great video on data centers. And, you know, and one of the things you find out is the water usage is not bad. You know, it's tiny compared to some of the things that, again, like pulp mill and that kind of thing. And the energy use in the areas where data centers are proliferating, those are the places where energy prices are rising the slowest. So it's not driving people's energy costs through the roof. And let me see if I can find you something on that. But because National Review did an article on a report the other day. And I didn't read the report, but I read the summary of the report in National Review, which you know, honestly, I do read National Review a lot. I find them to be one of the clearest sources of conservative thought. And when there is not 100% agreement on what is a conservative thought, they have discussions. They entertain debate. And again, and they'll literally, someone will write an article and then someone else will write a counter article about it and say, so-and-so said in his article, blah, blah, blah. But let me just tell you this. And that's what I really like about it. But they did an article not too long ago on a report that was really, really good. But I would also say, in the meantime, while I'm out there finding that for you at some point, check out John Stossel's video on it. Stossel's really good. Thank you, Cap Fending. Good to see you. Tell Catherine happy birthday for us from the other day. His public school stance is quite bothersome. I'm all for homeschooling in private schools, but not at the detriment of supporting public schools. Well, what is the... Let's just say this. How much is enough for the public schools? How much did we spend when we got a better result with the public schools? We used to spend less and get better results. So I don't know. I don't have a problem with vouchers and that kind of thing. I think it's a good thing. Let's see. Sorry, but Mayor Johnson has his promise of affordable housing for the, you talking about for the Pinova site? Okay. Good luck on that. I love Toys R Us. The thing about Toys R Us to me is Toys R Us, I always saw from afar. Cause I never saw it. I never went to Toys R Us. I never, until I got to Tallahassee when I was in college and there was a Toys R Us in town. And I was like, I've always wanted to go here. And when I went in there, I was like, holy cow, I missed this my entire life. Stunning. Great stuff. Bankrupt now, but sad. Thank you. The answer to the question of how to get people from the island to the mainland is simple. High-speed rail. Yes, that's the answer. Of course. I haven't gotten everything I had planned for today, and I'm sorry about that. Because I got to get running. And I had a Sophie Cunningham story, by the way. And I'm not going to be able to get to it because I got to get out of here. I got a 9 o'clock I got to make. But, look at me. Although the new shirt is great. This is my first Uniqlo shirt. Is the Darth Vader Management Consulting Firm. So I got this on the trip. But anyway, I've got to get out of here. I did tell you I was going to knock it off. Well, I told you I was going to knock it off a little bit earlier. But again, comparatively speaking, are we really? Let's see. My kids had to look up how many acres a zoo needs, and they're now pushing for a Brunswick Zoo. It ain't bad, but we'll see. If somebody comes in and wants to do it. And I got to tell you, too, the Jacksonville Zoo is great. Again, I'm not trying to make us Jacksonville Junior by any stretch of the imagination, but Jacksonville Zoo is pretty good. The only thing is I almost died the last time I was there, so I haven't been back. But I think that was more on me than anything else. We went down there. We took the kids. This is how long ago it was. Both kids were still little. And we had an idea that we would go down there, and they were running a special where you paid for your admission and you paid maybe $10 more or something like that. And you went up with an annual pass. So we bought 4 annual passes to the Jacksonville Zoo. We thought, well, this could be a thing. And of course, my logic was if we go twice, we've made money. Because the $10, it was more than $10 to get into the zoo, but the annual pass, you go twice, you're taken care of. And I thought, well, surely we'll go twice in a year. And we went down there and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a plant. I don't know if it was an animal. I don't know what it was, but about halfway through, I had one of the worst allergy attacks I have ever had in my entire life, to the point where Mrs. Reifman was like, is he going to die? And it was awful. It was absolutely awful. And so after we left, we're like, I don't know if I'm coming back. They may keep that extra $10 because I don't know if I'm coming back for this. I don't know that it's worth my life to go see a couple of animals, but it's a really neat place. Again, it's kind of on me, that whatever allergy attack I had, but Jacksonville Zoo is a really neat place. If we had something like that here, I think it'd be terrific. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Hope you guys have a great weekend. You know me, I'm going to try and take the weekend off, but something may motivate me and I may just pop on for a few minutes. So that's why you have to like it, subscribe it, and hit the bell for notifications, is because you just never know when I'm going to be on. I'm going to be on at 7 o'clock, but outside of that, I might be on at other times just to do something. And you won't know it until it's over, unless, of course, you get the bell rung for notifications. So do subscribe to us. We're at 1,078 right now. So we've added a good number this week, and we will continue adding things. And in the meantime, have a great weekend. I will see you Monday morning, if not sooner. Thanks for joining us, because this has been a lot of fun. See ya.